all a part of the Talk America Radio Network. You can also check us out on ICRN, the Internet's conservative radio network. That's the engine that powers Talk America Radio. You can check us out on Lone Star Talk Radio and Sackheads Media, Lanterns Radio at lanterns.buzz, and welcome to our newest rebroadcast outlet. It's also a new kid on the block when it comes to internet radio, folks. Check out I2I Talk Radio. That's letter I, number 2, letter I Talk Radio. Brand new kids on the block. We're happy to be joining them. And we welcome you if you're tuning in on that network. And we hope that you enjoy what you're hearing. But if you miss any of the rebroadcasts, and there's lots of them, you can also download us. So that way you can always take us with you wherever you want to go. Never miss a beat. You can download us at Spreaker, Stitchin, TuneIn, Podbay, Player FM. You can discover us on Google Play Music. You can also find us on SoundCloud, Auto Radio, and of course iTunes, and the mighty iHeart Radio Network. So hold on to your hats, folks. We're checking in right now on these election results coming in. With 99% of the precincts reported in the Pennsylvania special election for the 18th Congressional District, we're within less than 100 votes. Connor Lamb is in a virtual dead heat with Rick Saccone. It's a 95 vote margin, folks. It is razor thin. I haven't seen a race this close in some time. But again, the Libertarian has over 1,300 votes. Imagine that. A ticket split in a big race like this. Wow. Stay tuned on that race, folks. But while we're, continuing to monitor that, and we'll let you know where it stands after all the machine votes are counted, I do want to touch briefly on this report that came out from the House Intelligence Committee. I don't know if the report is out yet. It's a draft report, I should say, regarding the bipartisan investigation into Russia's active measures targeting the 2016 U.S. election, meaning the presidential election, of course. This report is more than a year in the making. This is coming from the committee, which again is majority Republican. So I'm sure that Adam Schiff and his buddies are feverishly working on their rebuttal to this report. But this committee looked at this. Remember, there's so many different committees reviewing so many different things. I mean, the House Intelligence Committee has 3 different things they're reviewing, including this one. But we're talking about the analysis of Russian active measures directed at the presidential election, the U.S. government response, links between Russians and the Trump and Clinton campaigns, and leaks of classified information. So basically, the upshot of the report concludes that there was no collusion. We haven't seen the declassified version of the report. It will be made to the public. Were there Russian attacks on America and European allies? Yes, there were. There were cyber attacks, according to the committee, on U.S. political institutions in both 2015 and 2016. But there was no evidence of collusion, coordination, or conspiracy between the Trump campaign and the Russians. There you have it, folks. There's the first report coming out which states that there was no collusion. This obviously is a hit to the Democrat narrative that the Trump campaign was in it with the Russians to steal the election away from Hillary Clinton, who, by the way, is still making an ass of herself. If anybody saw her comments that, white housewives were bullied into voting for Trump, or something to that effect, please run, Hillary. Please run in 2020. Please win your nomination. And let's just do this again, because we had so much fun the first time. Please, I'm begging you, please run. Amen. But, again, the first report also comes with recommendations. 25 of them, in fact, that will look to improve election security, protecting vote tallies, supporting our allies, campaign finance transparency. If you remember, the Clinton campaign paying money to Fusion GPS through their attorneys, they only had to report on their filings that they gave their attorneys money, and not where the money ultimately went. So you may see some campaign finance reform in that respect. And also, they're going to be talking about different counterintelligence practices related to political campaigns and political campaign financial disclosures. So there's a lot to unpack from this report. I'm looking at the summary sheet right now. And honestly, this only gives you a part of the story. I'm going to withhold judgment. I'm a big believer in judging slowly, folks. But let's say this, politically speaking, how could you not think this is a victory for the Trump administration? To have a congressional committee finally put down on paper, pen to paper, or ink to paper, however you want to say it, that finally someone's saying no collusion. It's been a hyper-partisan issue. Again, there's that word. I keep using it. It's a hyper issue, guys. That, the mainstream media has taken up as their cause of the term, of the presidential term. And the narrative is broken down so much to the point where it looks like reports are going to start coming out in favor of the president. This may end up vindicating the president, and it may end up hurting the Democrats for 2018 and 2020, especially those Democrats who are hoping to continue to campaign on this issue, who are hoping to continue the narrative. The Nancy Pelosi's of the world, the far left congressional members who are running for their re-election, who wanted to keep running on this issue. And you know what, folks? I give credibility to this report not only because of the amount of time it took and presumably the citations and everything that are going to be in it, but also because of the reaction of the left and the freaky Lou wackadoos like our reigning and defending buffoon of the year, who says that the report and the committee lacks credibility. Folks, I just can't anymore with the... I literally just can't with some of these Democrats. But when people start saying that committees lack credibility, and we'll play a clip of her in a little bit. I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But when Maxine Waters, and that's who I've been talking about, in case you didn't know, when Maxine Waters, the reigning, defending, and undisputed buffoon of the year, talks about somebody else's credibility, you have to know that they're probably more than credible. Because, is anything that Maxine Waters says credible anymore? Was it ever credible to begin with? I certainly don't think so. And when Adam Schiff starts saying that reports only tell half a story, remember that whole build-up for the memo, the classified memo and all that? Yeah. I think that the credibility issues are not really on the Republican side, but they're on the Democrat side. Now, the attacks from the left are predictable. They're claiming that the draft report took no input from the Democratic members of the committee, and that the report that was overseen by Congressman Michael Conway of Texas says that there was no evidence of collusion. That it's only telling one side of the story. Now, in this hyper-partisan world, I can understand that. But the House Intelligence Committee has a history of acting in a bipartisan manner. So, to see how far we've come in this political divide, that committees that were working together in the past are now no longer, that to me is a sign of how great the divide is in the country. We'll get to that political commentary later. Adam Schiff, we'll get back to him for a second, he basically called the drafting of this report the GOP shutting down the House Intel investigation, leaving questions unanswered, leads unexplored, and countless witnesses uncalled, and subpoenas unissued. So, Schiff is losing his mind on this, of course. He's arguing that there's ample evidence of collusion between Russia and the Trump campaign. But again, here we are in the middle of March, and where is this evidence? Why haven't we seen it yet? Schiff also said that the House Republicans putting out this report before the Mueller investigation and other congressional panels have finished their work is an issue, because they say that they're abandoning the investigation where others are still continuing it. Again, there are so many investigations going on, I can't keep track of them anymore. But given the indications from the Mueller investigation, we haven't really seen any major movement against the Trump campaign. Some ancillary players and some side people, some people who are already under investigation for other things outside the Trump campaign. But nothing about the campaign in chief going on. I mean, we've seen the side shows, we've seen the indictments against, certain Russian nationals and Russian entities that will never get prosecuted for real. We've seen that, but we haven't seen any hard evidence of collusion. Again, this report has to be seen as a victory for the Trump campaign. And I think that, Congressman Conway has held up pretty well on the media circuit. I think that at least he's putting out there, that he's saying that using subpoenas, for instance, the argument that Schiff used against him, or using, other tools at the disposal of the committee to compel more testimony, would lead to the Trump administration invoking executive privilege. Again, this is a dicey area of law, whether or not he has that right or the administration has that right. We don't know. I mean, we've heard talk about the Mueller wanting to subpoena Donald Trump and whether or not he has that power to or not. Most point to yes. But, Conway, I should be saying. I've been saying his name wrong the whole time. Conway has been saying that there may not be anywhere else to go in the investigation. So, and again, we're saying all this without looking at the full report. We need to see the full report, or at least the unclassified version of it, before we can really delve into this issue. So judge slowly at this point, but from a public relations standpoint and a perception standpoint, how can this not be a victory for President Trump? We're going to take our last break right now. When we come back, we're going to take it a little local to the People's Republic of New York, my home area, my stomping grounds, and talk about how New York has retained its crown as the capital of corruption. Gene Baradelli, Behind Enemy Lines, will be back right after these brief words. Time for a little music. We call this, What the F*** is Maxine Waters Saying?
To be clear, you believe it would have been better to keep in place an FBI director who you said had no credibility to oversee this investigation than to find someone who you think would be a better choice?
No. But I believe the president thought that. Don't forget. You're talking about what some Democrats said, what I said, but don't forget, he was the president. The president supported him. He had confidence in him. It was within his power. And
but you said he had no credibility, so it would seem to make sense that he should get rid of him.
No. Under investigation, this president basically has interfered with an investigation where he may be implicated. That's outrageous, and that's why we're having so much of a conversation about it today.
The bottom line is that you think an FBI director without credibility would have been best served in this position to try to pursue this investigation.
I think if the president had fired him when he first came in, he would not have to be in a position now where he's trying to make up a story about why it does not meet the smell test.
Yeah. Something smells all right.
Understood. So if Hillary Clinton had won the White House, would you have recommended that she fire FBI Director James Comey?
Well, let me tell you something. If she had won the White House, I believe that given what he did to her and what he tried to do, she should have fired him.
So she should have fired him, but he shouldn't have fired him. This is why I'm confused.
No, you're not confused.
Yes I am. Hey folks, I just want to let you know about a great opportunity for listeners of Behind Enemy Lines Radio. If you go to our website, www.behindenemylinesradio.us, and click on the SaneBox ad on the right side of the page, you will get a great opportunity for a discounted offer to join SaneBox. SaneBox filters out all the unimportant email from your inbox so that you can really focus on what matters. If you're anything like me, folks, you get hundreds of pieces of email a day, not many of which is important. SaneBox's smart filter will get everything you need to fly through your inbox and finally make email work for you. It gets rid of spam emails, it deprioritizes emails that aren't as important to you, and it helps you unsubscribe from mailing lists and individual senders